Hey YouTubers, music lovers, Scott McClure here, and today I'm going to do something different that I normally don't do, and I guess it's more or less behind the scenes of We Are the Dreamers, a song that I did a few years ago, and so more or less just kind of an inside look at some of the sounds that I use, maybe some of the effects. I did release a version in 2021 under Aztec. It was Pure Retro Synth Volume 3. And on that one, I had sung the whole thing and mixed and mastered that as well. When I first did the song in 2021, I think I wrote the song early 2021 and had this idea that, hey, it would be great to get all these different synthwave artists to sing backup vocals and whatnot on there. I contacted Power Rob, Atomic Pines, Star Madman, Von Kaiser, Bunny X, lots of people. So if I forgot your name, I'm sorry. But yeah, there was a lot of people that sang backup vocals on this song and also did the music video. So thank you for that. So what happened, I released this under Aztec in 2021 on their compilation. Michael Oakley contacts me, and I'm super excited because Michael Oakley. And he's like, yeah, man, this is a really good song. I like this song. And asked me if I needed any advice on it, mixing, whatnot. And I said, hey, man, yeah, it would be nice. Like, is there any way that you think you could mix the song? And he said, yes. I said, yeah, man, send me the stems and I will mix it. And even like maybe contact a few people that I know to help co-mix it and maybe get Pete Marr to master it and stuff like that. So that was really cool. Then he said, hey, just a thought. What do you think about me singing on the song? I was like, that might be pretty cool because I think we were Zooming. And he said, not to sing the whole thing. He's like, I totally think you should be the main vocalist on the song. He's like, maybe I could sing the verses. And you would do the pre-choruses and the chorus. And I thought about it, and I thought, that would be really cool. So we did that, and it turned out really cool. And, of course, Michael not only went on to mix it, but he also helped produce it, this version. The original version was a little bit longer, so it had, like, this bridge section that's no longer in there now, and an intro that was kind of long, and stuff like that. So he just kind of helped me with that. He kind of, like, chopped up some things that weren't necessary, and I ended up with a really nice, concise version that to this day is my favorite version now. So thank you, Mike Oakley, for that. All right, so enough talking. Let's get into it. As you can see, I have Logic Pro open here. Logic Pro is the one that I had used forever when I wrote this song, and so that's where it started. And this is what I'll show you. These are like of course, this version, as you can see here, it says We Are the Dreamers for making wave files, because whenever I was going to do that for Michael Oakley to make the stems, I had to go back and make another project so I can just go in, and it didn't matter if I messed up like a lot of the plugins and the settings that I had made. So I didn't want to mess all that up just in case I wanted to keep the version that I had. So I made this version. As you can see, we did this in 2022, and we had done this together late 2022, and of course released We Are the Dreamers video, and I want to say early 2023. I could be wrong. I can't remember. But anyway, it eventually made the album Dreaming in Color last year in October of 2023. But yeah, as you can see, Logic Pro, and this is where you're going to see it's the long version. It's the original version, which the original is 2021, where I had mixed a million different versions of it. But this is the one I finally settled on to bounce down some stems for Michael Oakley. And then, as you'll see, we'll get to see a little bit of what he did. Of course, we won't get to see all of it because I don't have all the plugins he had and stuff like that. And I don't even have some of the same plugins I had back then. As you can see right here, I'm missing Lustrous Plates from Slate. I don't even have the Slate virtual rack anymore, which I used heavily at this time when I was doing this song. So I had to do a lot of replacing, and some stuff I just left as is since Mike Oakley ended up mixing it anyway. As you can see, I had some stuff from Solid State Logic, the X Saturator. No, I no longer have that. No longer have the SSL native channel strip. But yeah, I just wanted to break this down and give you guys a basic look inside of, some of the stuff that I use, like maybe some of the plugins you will get to see that I used, and some of the VSTs that I use for the synth sounds and drums and whatnot. And I thought this would be fun. All right, here we go. Yeah, as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of CPU power, so it kind of glitched for a second there. Sorry about that. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much the basic song that it ended up being, except the intro is a lot shorter. And but yes, still same sounds that I used. I'll show you some of the stuff I used here. All right, so let's start with, as you can see, I used some of this stuff, the PMRW effects. And for the life of me, I could not tell you where I found those. Probably Splice or something like that. But yeah, it's really cool sound effects, that kind of backwards reverse thing. And here we go, the bass. So as you can see, I like to, and I still like to do a lot of buses where I will stack some things. Like I stacked 3 different basses here. This one here from Hive, from Yuhi, and I love this company. They make fantastic stuff. Only complaint, as you other producers know, very CPU intensive. So if you use these, use them sparingly or get a really powerful processor. But I can't afford that, so I just had to stick with kind of meeting in the middle, try to sparingly use them, or just have multiple projects where I'll bounce it down into a WAV file, which you'll see later. So ARP bass, it's really nice. It has the ARP on it there. I really enjoyed that. As I was writing the song, of course, got to have that synthwave bass. Layered with this one, bass 2, and sometimes I will, take presets and just, kind of do my own sound design. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes there'll be a preset that's like, wow, that's it. I like that. But yeah, oftentimes I will just kind of tweak some stuff here and there. Let's see what this is. Yeah, it's really cool. Synth wavy kind of bass. So basically I have kind of the bulk right here, kind of the low end, and then kind of the mid-range attack, and then just one that's kind of more, as you can see, it's the same bass. It's just this one I used for, I just carved out some of a lot of the low end, just to get that initial attack, and that's what I did there. And as you can see, some of the effects, Pro Q3 Fab Filter, can't recommend it enough. I know that Michael Oakley and James Mays of Missing Words had really recommended this to me, and so I jumped on it, and so happy I did, because you do everything with this thing. Dynamic EQ, everything you can do with this thing, and it's just my favorite EQ to this day. As I said earlier, I no longer use Slate. I would recommend it though. Like if you're into this kind of whole lunchbox kind of thing, which I am, I love it. That's why I love Ableton, because it's kind of doing that, right? Like at the bottom there, you get all your effects lined up there. But I just didn't want to do the subscription thing anymore, and I really wanted to focus on effects and plugins that I already had, something I didn't have to keep paying monthly on. Got to pay those bills, so I had to make some sacrifices. But I would highly recommend Slate stuff. It just sounds fantastic straight out of the gate. Love it. It just, as you can see, just tons of awesome plugins here. You get like kind of the Tube Tech kind of thing, opto compressor, and the 1176 ones, of course, and LA2As, and get all kinds of really cool stuff. Pultec, or not Pultec, but Neve and API. I mean, at this point, they might have something like a Pultec. Oh, here we go. No, this is Neve. My bad. Yeah, maybe they'll have a Pultec version eventually. I highly recommend it. Let's check out some stuff here. At this time, I was really getting into Hive too. It's a really cool sound. Called Blue Star, Arc Blue Star. Just using some of that stuff. And then the Sleeping Blue. What is this guy? Oh, I think this is kind of more of a... Yeah, just a really nice polysynth sound or something. Yeah, man, I just realized that I used a crap ton of Hive too. I love this thing though. Just has a really nice pristine sound to it. I love their stuff. Yuhi makes great stuff. And Diva, of course, is another one that I love. And Omnisphere, here we go. The pianos that you heard at the beginning are from Keyscape. Highly recommend it. Of course, the upright there. And I did blend it with another, I think I just blended it with a regular piano. Yeah, the C7 Grand. Have quite a delay when I hit the keys. It's like 10 minutes later, there they are. Yeah, and I like to blend stuff, and it's not unique to me, obviously. But one thing that I've learned that has helped save me a lot of time with mixing, I mean, of course, this is still an older project, a couple years ago, but now I'm realizing that layering stuff is actually a really great shortcut. And the reason why I call it a shortcut is because, sometimes you'll find a sound you like, use it, another sound, and they're all different sounds, right? Some have the same melody, some don't. And you just spend hours and days and weeks on EQing and compression and all these things, and you're just like, why isn't it working? But then you layer sounds. Like maybe you'll take the same sound, have an octave with the lower octave. And sometimes it's just a matter, if they're playing the same melody, sometimes you even do that if they're not playing the same melody. And it can really just make things jump out without having to do a whole lot to it. And of course, I think one of the most, vital things I've learned, one of the best tips I've ever learned, I think, and quite a few people. I'll watch videos where they mention it, but also people like Michaeloakley have, mentioned it to me and just give me these tips. And that is, find the sound that works from the start. In other words, don't just throw on a sound just because you like it and you're fighting your mix and like, why isn't it working? Well, oftentimes it's because the sound you chose don't work very well together. So if you can, start as soon as you can to find sounds that just work right out of the gate, right off from the start together. If they work well, your mix is going to start coming together so much faster. Then you don't have to do as much EQing and compression and all that kind of stuff. And that's just something that I wish I would have known from the start. It would have saved me lots of time. If I could give you 2 tips, find the right sounds that work well immediately before you really dive into mixing. Of course, get a static mix. It's going to be hard to tell until you do a little bit of mixing before you know. Sometimes you can tell right away, like, that sound and that sound, just, they're not working. Even when I carve stuff out, it's like, So then you know that it's time to move on and pick a different sound. And oftentimes what I'll do is try my best to get the closest sound I can to my vision in my head. If you have an idea, like when I'm writing songs, what I love to do more than anything is not worry about the sounds at first. I mean, if I already know in my head that, let's just say it's going to be a synthwave song, then I know it's going to be most likely some kind of nice pad or brass or poly synth sound that will be kind of the chunk of my song. So I'll just pick something I know, like a nice brass sound or whatever. If it's going to be like chords or some simple melody, because it's really important to get that idea down, to get that flow, that whole arrangement, just because sometimes it just happens all that day. And when it happens like that, it's so wonderful. And it may not always happen like that. Sometimes some people are different. Sometimes they like to mix and produce as they're going along, step by step. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great too. That's how I kind of did things a few years ago. Now I'm not so much into that. Now I'm more into this idea of like, can I get this song out first? Then I'll produce it later. Worry about the sounds later and mixing and all that. I just feel like sometimes you get that feeling of the song out. Because sometimes when you come back to it later, it's gone. You've lost it, and you spend more time beating your head against the wall trying to figure out how to finish the song than anything else at that point. There is a certain point, though, where I like to cut it off, because sometimes if you just like start second guessing yourself and then you start questioning things, then it's a good time to take a break. Then it's okay, but it's just when you're still excited and you have all these ideas floating in your head, don't stop. Don't go to those plugins and start mixing and lose that, right? Yeah, let's see what else we have here. I have this women's choir. Once again, Omnisphere. I love this thing. Tried and true. Let's see it. Here. But yeah, that's just a nice sound. Really nice. I love Omnisphere. Ooh, there's that glitching. Should have added that to the song. Yeah, here we go. DX7 Spire. There's another one. Spire is fantastic as well. Let's see. Yeah, it's really nice. Ethereal bell sound. It just goes on forever. It's really cool. And what else do we have here? We did the uprights. What are these? Let's go over here. See what that is. Okay, so that's some sort of I can't talk. Some sort of brass. Let's hear it in context of the mix here. Yeah, as you can hear, there's a lot of layers. I like to layer melodies together like these here. Let's see, these two. Turbo Kid, and before I even click on it, I know it's Spire. Yep, Spire. And once again, I think this is also from a Michaeloakley pack. So yeah, anything from Michaeloakley, I mean, the guy knows his stuff. He is what I call the synthwave guru of sound design. He's like the is it Luftrum of Omnisphere? He's like that guru. I mean, he does them all. He does all the DSTs, but for synthwave, I go to Michaeloakley. This has been brought to you by Michaeloakley. No, not really, but yeah. Anyway, let's hear it. Two sounds layered. And so what I like to do is I like to, let's see if I can find some of the vocals. Sometimes I will make the synth melodies copy what the vocal is doing. Sometimes I'll just do parts of the melody. It's probably going to be really awful here, but let's see what we got going on. Forgive me. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh yeah, that's a vocal bus. Oh my gosh, I hope it's not going to burst our eardrums. Well, let's see. Searching to belong. One. Okay. just for the sake of our ears, let me turn that down. Is that automated? Of course it is. So let me do this. All right, let's see what this does here. Searching to belong, one night could change forever. We'll drive into the sun. Yeah, there you go. See how the first one, I wanted it to kind of be like an echo. And so it just kind of did a similar melody after that first initial vocal melody. And then at the very end, into the sun, then that's when I copied the melody together. Searching to belong, one night could change forever. We'll drive into the sun. Yes, I think little things like that can provide a nice hook. So, yeah, experiment with that. See what you think. It's really nice when things like that happen. I really love things like that. That synchronicity, that beautiful synchronicity. All right, so what else we have here? This Chaos Art, Tau Uno. Oh, this thing's a beaut. I know you guys out there and gals watching probably already use this thing, especially if you're in synthwave or electronic music. I'm pretty sure you do. It's just nice. Really nice. Of course, without anything on, it just sounds like this here. So yeah, I just kind of wanted it to sound like out in the open. So of course I'm adding some panning effects here. And this really nice reverb called LX480 from Relab, which is of course based on the famous reverb, and some EQ. As you can see, it's crazy town here, but sometimes, what I'll do is, let's hear it. Yeah, so the reason I have this here, the dynamic EQ happening here, is because the lower notes were just woofing, like a dog woofing, too much here in the low end. So I decided to do that instead of just carve out those frequencies, because I still wanted those frequencies to come through, because I really like how it just kind of has an even start from the low to the high. So I'll do that. And especially in the mid-range, because there's other instruments happening in the mid-range here. And so I did that. And then, of course, kind of almost like the ARP itself coming from one side to the next. Almost sounds like it's coming towards you. And I wanted that effect, so I just kind of, had some highs boosted right there. And the good old CLA2A. Anything from CLA, from Waves, is just fantastic. So if you like Waves and you're into Waves, but you haven't tried the CLA stuff, highly recommend it. It just sounds good. And there's a lot of great features, as you can see. I mean, you could just carve out the frequencies you don't want to be compressed. If you want the lower frequencies not to be compressed, you can mix it. You have the mix knob to add as much or as little compression as you want, and even a trim knob. How about that? And so you don't even have to mess with your gain knob if you don't want to. It's really cool. Yeah, I love this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to show. Oh, drums. Of course, got to show some drums here just to kind of give you guys an idea of, what I like to use. Let's start with kick. How to use battery. As you can see, I go crazy. I'm a little bit more simple now, but back then what I would do is just load up as many kicks as I possibly could into these pads here, and just, go back and forth. It's really good to do, I think. Just give yourself some options. And I settled on that kick here. And Smack Attack from Waves, really nice. Just a really quick way to add sustain or attack, or to subtract. And you can have the different shapes here. Nice. There's a lot of great transient designers out there, though. So SPL, is it SPL? Plugin Alliance has a really nice one. But I really like this one. I just like the way it's laid out. You have the limiter and the clipper, and it's just really simple. If you can keep your project as simple as possible, it's a lifesaver. Because it takes a long time just to mix and write songs and all that to begin with. So saving time is a plus. The good old R compressor from Waves. I love this thing. Once again, it's just really simple. It behaves. Of course, it behaves, but it also, you can do opto, you can do a FET compressor, and VCA. So it's really cool. You can cover all grounds with that compressor. This is a good one. UAD Century Tube Channel Strip has become my recent favorite. I use this thing on a lot of stuff now. It's just to the point and really simple, and it's a very musical compressor, and really nice sounding tube preamp, so you get a little bit nice saturation going on, and a really simple EQ. Can't really do much with it, but it's really musical, though, so it's not too harsh in the highs. I use it a lot for the high end. But yeah, I'll show you without. Here's with. Okay. Without this stuff on. Still sounds good, but it just doesn't quite have that oomph and attack. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of reverb, and not a whole lot, as you can see, 96-4, so there's not much going on there, but just enough to give a little bit of, like, if it was recorded in a room. I love the FabFilter limiter. That's my favorite one, of course, but at this time I didn't have it, so I used the Logic Adaptive Limiter, which is still good. I still love it. It's easy to set the ceiling and whatnot, so it's really good. Snare. So once again, as you can see, I doubled the snare. Usually I double the kick, and I may have later on. We'll see. But yeah, snare. Once again, battery at this time, and loading it just crazy. Looks like I used, is it the Baker Synthwave Snare 20? A lot of cool snares there. And same thing, Slate, but originally I had the opto compressor, but since I don't have Slate anymore, I do get to keep these just because I bought the original VMR years ago. It comes with a couple things. The Monster compressor is really nice. And this Kramer master tape to add that nice saturation. Let's see. Not really a whole lot of difference, but it's hard to tell. But there's just a slight bit more depth in there. So it's just adding just a little bit of low end, I think, or low mids or something. And yeah, and then I'll layer it with this one. So that one has the nice reverb on it, and the really good smack, right? The really heavy sounding snare. And same thing again. So I had to replace the opto with the Monster compressor, and kind of have it halfway here on the mix knob. So I'm getting a lot of compression, but still the initial attack from the original source. And what else do I have here? Oh, Kramer tape again. So basically kind of the same thing here. And then blending the two together. Oh yeah, Mixbox. So this is another great one from IK Multimedia. If you love the kind of Slate thing, but you don't want to do the subscription thing, I highly recommend Mixbox. Has a lot of cool stuff. A lot of amp stuff, channel strips, delays, distortions, compressors, dynamic stuff, EQs, filter, modulation, reverb, saturation. So it comes with quite a lot of stuff, and you get that whole lunchbox kind of vibe going on if that's what you like. And it's not too CPU intensive too, so that's good. That always helps. And I use that a lot, especially for that right there for the gate. I really like this British Dynamic, which is, of course, doing the SSL thing. So you get the compressor and the gate channel, and you can see here. This kind of takes that off, and I'll show you. So you don't really need that, because by that point you're already getting like other sounds coming in, and plus it's about time to hit, get the next snare hit, so you don't need it to ring out forever. Just enough. All right, let's hear it together. Yeah, it just gives it that attack on the first snare, and then the second snare is giving it the body, and then of course the reverb to kind of give you that 80s kind of thing. And in context here, let's hear it. Yeah, I really like that snare sound right there. Of course, it's not really mixed here, so it's not very even with the rest of the music, but you get the point. Okay, so we did some of the drums and, of course, the toms. I'll show you that real quick before we move on, because this video is already probably 100 minutes long. Oh, yeah, this is the intro. Of course, it's not mixed. In the song, it's much louder. But, yeah, I just wanted to kind of emphasize that reverse effect. So let's find some real toms here. Something that's doing something here. Here we go. Yeah, really low. Are they automated? Yep. Unfortunately, they are. Okay, so I can compensate. Why don't I compensate with just a gain plug-in here? All right, let's see. So might as well go to 20. Let's bust those speakers. All right, here we go. Okay, that might be close. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so not mixed, but just so you can get an idea of the sound that I used. And this, once again, I was using battery. Okay, right here. Okay, so Lindrum. These I did not actually get from my Lindrum, but I think I sampled the Lindrum from XLN's Addictive Drums. Yeah, from that pack. And the reason why I did that instead of just opening XLN is so I could have all these options at the same time, whereas you can't load in your own sounds in Addictive Drummer. And then what did I use here? Okay, so IQ FRW Tom. Once again, a lot of this stuff comes from Splice. So I couldn't even tell you what the pack was called or whatnot. Sorry. But yeah, you might recognize some of these. I'm sure a lot of you out there have these packs as well. But yeah, I like that. I like that sound, the tom. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to step 2. There's 2 more projects to show you, so hang in there. I might actually make this a 2-part video, actually. One last thing. I did forget that I didn't show any vocals other than, showing you the melody that matched with it earlier. But I would like to show you at least, some of the effects that I used on it. Studio Rack from Waves. And basically all I did is use Butch Vig's vocal here.
Arcade nights.
Kind of gives it a lot of mid-range, I find. And then, of course, the good old R comp. Love it.
Arcade nights.
But yeah, let me show you.
Arcade nights.
See how much warmer it got there? For some reason, I wanted it to be very mid-rangey. Of course, it probably changed by the time I did the new version. But this version, which I think is the one from Aztec that you can hear on their compilation, Pure Retrowave Volume 3. But yeah, here you go.
Arcade nights. Escape was a reality.
Yeah, just to make it cut through the mix. But yeah, you get the point. We'll be able to experiment more with that in the other project. So let's do that. I will meet you in Ableton.